I don't even know what to say anymore, guys. I really don't. Like, yes, we should be happy that this is a better Bulls team than we've had in years. But even still, you're talking about a Bulls team that gave us high hopes with the way they were playing to start the season, and now they're just crashing and burning. Obviously, health is a factor. Like, not having DeMar DeRozan tonight was a huge loss for the Bulls, especially when the fourth quarter came around where the Bulls really fell apart, and that's when we see DeMar turn it on, as we often do, and like to refer to him as the king of the fourth quarter. But come on now, it's not like the Pelicans aren't without their best players either. Sure, Zion has been out all season, but Brandon Ingram was out of the game for tonight as well, one of their main scorers. And yes, the Pelicans have been playing a lot better than what they were looking at to start this season, but this is still a Pelicans team that is 30-42 and fighting for that final play-in spot. This is a game the Bulls should have won, no excuses, period. You want to talk about heart? You want to talk about fight? There was none of that in the second half from the Bulls. Sure, it was there in doses in the first half, but the Bulls completely fell apart coming out of the locker room when the Pelicans set that tone going on a 7-0 run. And then even when the Bulls did come back, they allowed the Pelicans to blow the game wide open and create separation in the fourth, that even when the Bulls did make a mini run by hitting back-to-back threes, it was still too late and the Pelicans responded in kind by going on another run for themselves and closing out the game. Where is the urgency? Where is the drive and fight in these guys? The playoffs are just a few weeks away, and you're now positioning yourself for an early first-round exit and potentially even falling into the play-in. Like I've been saying for a while now, the Bulls are going to make the playoffs. I don't care what anyone says, and I do still firmly believe that. But there honestly is a worst-case scenario that if the Bulls fall to the 7th seed and have to play the Nets for the first game of the play-in, which is the most likely scenario, yeah, not the type of matchup you want to have for a play-in game. And then sure, they would likely have another opportunity to beat the winner of the 9-10 game, which is most likely going to be between the Hawks and the Hornets if they were to lose to the Nets. But there is no guarantee that they would win that game either. Like, can you imagine after all of the hype to start the season, the Bulls sitting at the top of the East for a good amount of time at the beginning to fall all the way down and miss the playoffs by getting knocked out of the play-in? That would be a disaster, and Billy Donovan can kiss his job goodbye if that happens. Although I feel like the front office will likely have to double down because they were so adamant about bringing him in that they'll have to give him another chance for the next season if that does happen. And like I said, I still think that scenario that I just highlighted is very unlikely, but it's also not out of the realm of possibility. With tonight's loss, the Bulls still remain 5th in the East, but are only one game ahead of the Cavs and the Raptors, who are currently tied for 6th and 7th, and the Bulls play the Cavs in their next game on Saturday. Talk about one of the biggest games of the season in terms of playoff impact. The Bulls can also kiss the number 4 seed goodbye because they're now 3.5 games behind Boston. Not a chance that they're going to catch up to them at this point, especially with less than 10 games remaining in the season. I don't know, guys. I don't know. It's hard for me because on one hand, I'm incredibly frustrated. But at the same time, I had the Bulls finishing with the 5th seed during the preseason, and here we are with them likely finishing around that mark, hopefully anyway. I just can't believe that they're free-falling this hard after what we saw earlier in the season. Now, as for this game, kind of already touched on it, but not a lot of heart, minimal defense in the second half, and guys couldn't take care of the basketball. It was nice to see Lavine get hot in the first half and was knocking down what seemed to be every shot that he threw up, but then in the second half, it was a different story, and he went MIA in the fourth quarter when the Bulls really needed him. I mean, Lavine knew he needed to take over on offense with DeMar being out, and he put up 39 points on 12 for 23 shooting, but he wasn't great with his shot selection, some of his shot selection anyway, especially from deep. He went 4 for 11 from 3. Did a great job at creating contact and getting to the line, but he also had 5 turnovers. Vucevic, although he started out the game nice and he shot the ball well, wasn't aggressive enough against Valanciunas like we've seen him do in years past. He did still manage to put up 16 points, 9 rebounds on 7 for 11 shooting. He also had 2 steals and 2 blocks, but also minus 21 tonight. And the GOAT Caruso, he continues to struggle, which, to be fair, the dude's wrist just isn't right. He's always grabbing it in games. His shot is off, but he's also having mental lapses and turning the ball over. Caruso was also minus 21 tonight, like Vucevic. And boy, Ayo, dude, was minus 31 for a team low. Ayo was reinserted back into the starting lineup with DeRozan being out, And it even got to the point where Billy Donovan had to pull Ayo off of the court in the fourth quarter and replace him with Coby White until Coby got fouled out. Now, Coby, on the other hand, did have himself a nice game. Like, this was one of the better games I've seen from Coby in a long time. Coby was efficient with his shot selection. He was pushing the pace and passing in transition. He ended the game with 23 points and 6 assists off the bench, was 9 for 15 and 5 for 8 from 3. You need to see more games like that from Coby compared to what we have seen the last few games. But this time, we didn't see the starting lineup step up as a result, even though Coby White did really well. Give the Pelicans credit, though. They played tough. They played hard. They played hard-nosed defense there at the end of the game to really not allow the Bulls to get any good looks and force turnovers. Like, these are the types of teams, meaning the Pelicans, that you would expect would fold in late-game situations. But no, they held their own, and the Bulls were the ones who actually folded. Anyway, the Bulls really better win this next one, or they're really going to be on the outside looking in, trying to scratch their way into the playoffs by way of the play-in. The Cavs are undermanned without Jarrett Allen. Like the Bulls, they're kind of slumping as well. This is a game you have to win if you're the Bulls. I don't care if it's on the road. Bulls have to figure out a way to start winning on the road because they're not going to get home court advantage of the playoffs at this point anyway. So yeah, guys, I'll try to have a video out tomorrow. Who knows? Maybe I'll just take a few days off. Kind of need it. Anyway, as always, be sure to subscribe if you're a Bulls fan, as I do post daily Bulls content. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, and I will catch you in the next one.